All right, take number three, and welcome back to Mr. K is Wrong. It's been a while since I've done an episode of this, but this is sort of my, I guess, side podcast. It's not my main one. But anyway, I debunk the claims of a right winger that I call Mr. K that I knew in my high school days. And today I'm debunking a right wing meme that Mr. K shared, originally made by a Facebook poster named Cold Dead Hands. And that should have your eyes rolling already. It's a ridiculous moniker. It's something a person would say if they're trying to self-parody because the roots of that is a quote from Charlton Heston saying, "You'll take my guns away from my cold dead hands." It's just laughable and pathetic. And of course, by now we know that these people who worship guns and think that guns equal freedom. Well, obviously, guns do not equal freedom. They don't even equal safety in a lot of cases because you can have tyrannical government unfold with a bunch of people who are fully armed because quite often the fully armed people are the ones who are in favor of the tyrannical government. Duh. Anyway, Cold Dead Hands posted the meme that says a breakdown in how the Democrat Party died because they like to say Democrat Party instead of Democratic because they think it's funny for some reason. But anyway, the meme shows Barack Obama and says, "I need a VP dumber than me." Then it shows Joe Biden saying, "I need a VP dumber than me." Then it shows Kamala Harris saying, "I need a VP dumber than me." Then it shows Tim Walz saying, "Boys need tampons." Like that's supposed to be so funny. Additionally, Cold Dead Hands says, "Is it really dead or just in emergent need of deportation and disposal?" Wow. So they're talking about deporting the Democratic Party. That's weaponizing deportation as I guess, a fun little hobby, I guess, something like that. So, these are man children. Well, I guess lady children in some cases as well, because obviously they they think that deportations are just something you should do to anybody that you disagree with. That is a childish attitude. And the meme also provided a link. It says, "The clicky thing is for patriots who love to read books with great stories that make you want to live where true men still hold open the doors for true ladies that want to learn how to make a great sandwich." That's right, they say sandwich like sandwich because, you know, they have to include an additional bit of cringe inducing word play, word usage, whatever. I guess it's not really word play exactly, but just just a dumb meme. And I'm going to tell you why it's a dumb meme and how they are lying about Tim Walz being stupid and all that. Like Tim Walz is actually one of the great governors of the modern era. In fact, he might be one of the greatest governors that the United States has ever had and quite possibly ever will have. So let's look at the claim here. The meme pretends that the Democratic Party has collapsed into stupidity by showing a chain of leaders, Obama, Biden, and Harris, each allegedly picking a dumber successor, ending with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and the quote, "Boys need tampons." The creator adds a screed about deporting the Democratic Party and longing for a world where true ladies make sandwiches. Wow. I guess when they say what is a woman, that's what they mean is just somebody who makes you sandwiches all fucking day or something like that. But anyway, let's clear this up and turn the spotlight back on the GOP here. So, for starters, the VP picks are a lazy oversimplification, of course. Obama picking Biden. Well, Biden was a Senate veteran with decades of legislative and foreign policy experience. If that's dumber than Obama, that's still a pretty high bar in many respects. Now, I have criticisms of Joe Biden, and in fact, I think it'd be fine if he was charged with being complicit in war crimes regarding Gaza. Nevertheless, he is not, he is not, dumber than any Republican that I can think of offhand. And Biden picking Harris, well, Kamala Harris is a former prosecutor, state attorney general, and U.S. senator. She's qualified, period. Mocking her intelligence often has less to do with her actual record and more to do with her being a woman of color and power. I mean, let's be real about that. You know, the track record speaks for itself. Now, I have criticism of Kamala Harris as well, just as I do of Obama, just as I do of any politician who has a flawed record, and all politicians do. But I do not think that Kamala Harris is stupid, at least not exactly. I mean, in certain ways, sure, you could say that everybody's stupid in some way, but I don't think she's stupid in the way that they're trying to suggest, like just lacking intelligence in general. And Tim Walz never said boys need tampons. That's another point. And, that these memes are just full of lies, frankly. This is that's a bad faith distortion of efforts to make schools more inclusive and provide menstrual products in public restrooms, including for trans boys who menstruate. So that policy wasn't about intelligence, it was about public health and dignity. And yes, it's happening in states like Minnesota because people live there who deserve humane policies too. And frankly, the idea that that's like the biggest scandal and the dumbest thing you could point out, that itself is dumb. Like how is it such a scandal to have tampons in any public restroom? I mean, the even putting aside the trans issue, like that's I mean, what if you're like a from a poor family and you're like a boy who's in a men's bathroom and you want to buy tampons for your girlfriend or your mom or something like that. Like where is even the scandal? You know, I don't quite get it. And isn't conservatives, principles supposed to be about like free choice and having things being available and to the point where you can have a lot of options? Like, isn't that one of the basic points that conservatives traditionally raise up about, the great freedom and liberty of this country is that you can have a lot of different options? Well, they apparently don't want to have tampons in public restrooms available. I guess that's a huge scandal, and that makes you stupid if you think, well, that's a sensible thing. It's sort of like, I mean, it's really no better than saying that a public restroom shouldn't have toilet paper or that you should have to. I don't, I don't know. Maybe these students should have to pay for the toilet paper or something like that. I don't know what the argument is, but anyway, more importantly, Tim Walz is a governor elected by Minnesotans. And here's what he's actually accomplished. And you tell me if these things all make him stupid. So, Tim Walz, his major accomplishments as governor of Minnesota from when he took office in January 2019 through mid 2025. And, he's had the largest education budget in state history of $2.3 billion approximately. He's expanded pre K seats, mental health resources, literacy programs, and universal free school meals for all K 12 students, regardless of income. That doesn't sound stupid to me. Child tax credit expanded to $1,750 per year per child, leading national child poverty reduction efforts. That sounds smart. And he's been good for health care and public health. The Alex Smith Insulin Affordability Act capped insulin costs and provided emergency access at little to no cost. He expanded access to child care and mental health support during the COVID-19 pandemic, delivered direct hero payments and business relief. Those sound like good and intelligent policies. He favors reproductive freedom and personal rights. He codified abortion rights, re- repealing restrictions like waiting periods and parental consent, enacted protections for out of state abortion seekers and IVF care. That sounds smart to me. And, it's it's sometimes a life-saving thing because sometimes pregnancies actually endanger lives, but even when they don't, I still believe in the freedom of choice, and Republicans don't. They think that they also think that, when you're born you just stop caring about a child anyway. They only care about developing fetuses, people who are not fully formed yet into full people. But once you are fully formed, once you're outside of the womb, they no longer give a flying fuck about your health and safety. And anyway, Tim Walz passed HF 146, the Trans Sanctuary Bill, which banned enforcement of out of state gender affirming care laws, banned conversion therapy, and reversed ideological book bans. So that's somebody who values freedom, and it's actually an intelligent thing because book bans are really a hallmark of stupid societies. So, when it comes to voting and public safety rights expansions, he was good there too. He restored voting rights to about 55,000 formerly incarcerated residents, implemented automatic voter registration, absentee ballots, pre registration for teens, and passed the Minnesota Voting Rights Act. Now, Republicans don't want people to have voting rights in a lot of cases, but if you value freedom and democracy, you want people to have a say in how society functions. And of course, they might raise, the right wingers might raise alarm bells about formerly incarcerated people having voting rights, but who's somebody who is a known criminal who is in the White House right now? And, well, it's not just him, other presidents have committed crimes as well, and other politicians, of course. So it's always hypocritical to say, "Oh, we got to stop," you know, ordinary citizens who were once imprisoned or jailed from voting, but you know, politicians who are known to be criminals and who are in fact often characterized as being criminals. Well, we'll let them have a say. It's a double standard, and it really shows where their allegiances lie when it comes to the class politics of it all. And when it comes to gun safety and public safety, Tim Walz enacted a red flag law, which included universal background checks on private transfers and stricter penalties for straw purchasing. He banned binary trigger devices. Now, I don't know that much about what binary triggers are. I'm not that much of a gun nut. But, he had some gun policies that right wingers wouldn't like, but which could be seen as normal by a lot of intelligent people out there. He banned handheld cell phone use while driving and raised the tobacco purchasing age to 21. He allocated $300 million for public safety, including a new state patrol headquarters. So, as far as the public safety stuff, a person might be in favor of those. I'm sure some people wouldn't be, but that's part of his record. I don't think there's anything particularly stupid about, you know, uh, banning handheld cell phone use while driving. I guess you could debate me on that one, but that seems like a rather intelligent policy, you know. And when it comes to labor and workers' rights, he's been good. He launched Minnesota's first statewide paid family and medical leave program, funded by a 0.7% payroll tax, along with paid sick leave, bans on non compete agreements, captive audience meetings, and improved wage theft protection in industries like meatpacking. So that doesn't sound stupid. What else has he done? Well, when it comes to infrastructure and economic development, he signed the largest infrastructure bill in state history, a $2.6 billion bonding package in 2023, followed by a long term $9 billion transportation commitment. He's funded roads, water treatment plants, bridges, veterans' homes, lead pipe replacement, and has been in favor of union jobs. He expanded broadband internet access across greater Minnesota and funded workforce development linked to high growth sectors. And when it comes to climate, energy, and the environment, he committed Minnesota to 100% clean electricity by 2040, passed over 40 climate initiatives in 2023, including bans on PFAS chemicals, that's PFAS chemicals, electric vehicle tax credits. He expanded EV infrastructure, introduced permitting reform in 2024 to streamline renewable energy projects. Sounds like a good thing to me. And as far as tech and the economy goes, invested more than $500 million in state tech and infrastructure programs, championed broadband expansion, banned deepfakes in elections, and enacted comprehensive data privacy legislation. He promoted medtech innovation and trade, supported growth via federal tech hub designation, and expanded small business loan support. And what about the housing taxes and consumer protections? He signed a $1 billion affordable housing bill, strengthened tenant protections, delivered tax rebates and cuts, especially for middle income families, seniors, and small businesses, exempted Social Security income for most seniors. Where's the stupidity there? He enacted consumer protection measures, banned hidden medical debt impacting credit, prohibited junk fees, regulated assistance living for elder abuse prevention, and so on. So let's look at those key highlights. What are the accomplishments? Education and kids' historic school funding, free meals, pre K expansion, child tax credit, health and drug costs, insulin affordability law, pandemic relief, insurance funds for rights and civil liberties. He expanded internet protect or not internet abortion protections. I was reading a line further down, I guess, but abortion protections, LGBTQ rights, and voting reforms for workers and labor. He was good. He had paid family leave established, wage protections, labor reform laws, infrastructure, the largest ever transit and local projects funding, and broadband expanded, climate and clean energy. He had the clean energy mandate, EV policies, permitting reforms, and he's had tech investment, data privacy laws, med tech support, and affordable housing, middle class tax relief, and consumer protections. None of that sounds stupid to me. So, to explore any of these accomplishments further, obviously you can do that. You might be able to have some critiques of some of those things, but nothing sounds particularly like, that's stupid. It all sounds actually pretty intelligent rather than stuff that a clown would favor to me. Meanwhile, let's talk about actual Republican stupidity. If the meme is trying to make a point about intellectual decline, it's picked the wrong target. So here's a quick refresher on the GOP's greatest hits. And I'm certainly not getting into everything here. So Donald Trump said, "We took over the airports during the Revolutionary War." Were there airports in 1776? I don't think so. I think he was being fucking dumb. What about Lauren Boebert? She thinks the Constitution says separation of church and state is junk. Well, it doesn't. The Constitution establishes separation of church and state, and Thomas Jefferson himself worked for the disestablishment of the Church of England when he was alive. So, yeah, Marjorie Taylor Marjorie Taylor Greene, who looks like Dog the Bounty Hunter. I gotta say it. I gotta go there. But anyway, she blamed wildfires on Jewish space lasers, and she tried to get out of it by saying, "I never said the words Jewish space lasers," but she claimed that a billionaire who happens to be Jewish was orchestrating lasers to start forest fires. So that's why people call it Jewish space lasers. So yeah, that's forever on her record. And you know, yeah, Tommy Tuberville can't explain what white nationalism is. Rick Perry forgot the name of the third federal agency he wanted to abolish during a live debate. Now, I mean, we all have flub moments. I've messed up probably in this episode myself. But if you're wanting to abolish something, you should be able to say what it is. Especially if you're raising the point up yourself. That's the bare minimum, really. And of course, Rick Perry was a piece of crap otherwise. And you have Sarah Palin, who claimed Alaska's proximity to Russia gave her foreign policy cred. Of course, it really didn't. And, there are other ones like George W. Bush was, of course, famous for dumb line after dumb line. I had a calendar that was just full of Bushisms. And 365 days a year, you'd get a different, incredibly stupid thing that he said. And yeah, some of them were truly cringe inducing quotes. Well, most of them were, to be honest. So, yeah. And of course, what was the name of that vice president? There we go, Dan Quayle. He was famous for misspelling the word potato while apparently, I don't know, was he correcting somebody during a spelling bee or something like that? And he misspelled the word potato. Yeah, I don't remember the exact details of that one, so you can call me stupid for not remembering that, but I think it was something like that. And he also claimed that Murphy Brown was somehow maybe contributing to the decline of womanhood in America or something like that because Murphy Brown was a single mom being depicted in a TV sitcom or something. Like like you can't acknowledge that single women exist, single mothers exist. And that was apparently some scandal for Dan Quayle. So yeah, he was dumber than a box of rocks. And obviously I could go on and on and on about this. And then, as going back to the meme, you got the true men, true ladies, and sandwiches part, and it's a culture war cosplay that posts nostalgic babble about true men holding doors and ladies learning to make sandwiches is code for resisting progress. Things like gender equality, changing social norms, and the modern world in general. It's just a cartoonish stereotype, about I mean, for one thing, true men can still hold doors open for ladies, and women can still make sandwiches, and men can make sandwiches for women. You know, it's just so stupid. Like you have to be dumber than a pile of shit in order to think that that's like such a funny thing to say. Like it's not. It's funny to make fun of it in some ways, like to roll your eyes and just laugh at how stupid it is. I can draw some humor out of that, but if you actually read that and go like, "Oh yeah, that's so funny," like it's just stupid and cringe inducing. And here's the real truth: modern patriotism isn't about clinging to stereotypes. It's about adapting with integrity, treating people with respect. You can hold doors open for anybody, and I often do that. When I'm entering a store or wherever, a public place, you can hold doors open for somebody. And how about leading with both values and brains instead of being dumb? So, who is really dumb here? They spread a misquote, they oversimplify complex leaders in the cartoons, and when they call everyone else dumb. If intelligence is about accuracy, honesty, and judgment, this meme flunks on all counts. And if we're keeping score on dumb moments in politics, the GOP is running up the scoreboard all by itself.